Hello everyone, today we'll be making this soda can cozy. This is for a standard soda can size, but I also modified this pattern to work for mini cans as well. You can find those instructions in the description of this video. For this cozy, you can use whatever colors you want. Here are some examples of just a few of the ones that I've made. For materials, you'll need 2 different colors of yarn to alternate between. And this is medium weight acrylic, but you can use whatever yarn you want. I'll be using a 4mm crochet hook for this tutorial. You'll also need a stitch marker, but if you don't have one of these, a bobby pin or even another piece of yarn also works. I also have a tapestry needle here for weaving in ends and scissors. We're going to start with our first color and we're going to make a magic ring. Start with placing the yarn in the palm of your hand with the tail end at the bottom, then hold the tail down with your thumb and grab the yarn at the top, and we're going to wrap it around our fingers to make an X. You'll have 2 parallel lines at the top. Insert your hook underneath the first one, and then grab the second piece of yarn with your hook and pull through and twist it at the same time. And then you'll gently slide the yarn off your fingers, and here is your magic ring. I'm going to grab the working yarn by placing it under my pinky and over my index finger. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through this first loop. And my magic ring is a little big, so I'm going to take this tail end and just tighten it a little bit, just so it's easier to work with. So into this magic ring, we're going to start with 8 half double crochets. To do a half double crochet, you're going to yarn over and insert your hook into this ring. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and now you will have 3 loops on your hook. And then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we're going to do that again. Yarn over, insert into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And then we're going to repeat this 6 more times to have a total of 8 half double crochets. Just as a note, if you plan on modifying this pattern to create a different size, you'll want to have an even number of half double crochets in this initial ring because the pattern that we're going to make to form the different rows requires an even number of stitches. Once you have your 8 half double crochets, you're going to take this tail end and pull this magic ring tight. And then into the first stitch we made, which is this V right here, we're going to insert our hook and do a slip stitch. To do a slip stitch, we're going to yarn over and pull that loop through this first stitch, and then pull through again through the loop on your hook. And this completes the first round. To start the second round, we're going to chain 1 by yarning over and pulling through that loop. And then into this first stitch, we're going to do an increase. So we're going to do 2 half double crochets inside this one stitch. Once you complete this first half double crochet, take your stitch marker and put it through the V at the top of this stitch. And this is going to indicate the first half double crochet of this round. Into the same stitch that we just put this first half double crochet into, we're going to insert our hook into that same slot and do another half double crochet. And we're going to continue increasing in each stitch in this round until we have a total of 16 half double crochets. And here I'm at this last stitch, and I'm going to do 1 more increase, 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. And then I'm going to remove this stitch marker, and we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch of the round. So insert your hook, yarn over and pull through again. And that is our second round complete. To start our third round, we're going to chain 1. And then for this third round, in this very first stitch right here, we're going to do 1 half double crochet. And then I'm going to insert my stitch marker into this first stitch. And then into this second stitch, we're going to do an increase. So do 2 half double crochets into the same stitch. So we're just going to repeat this pattern for the rest of the round, and at the end you will have 24 stitches. In this last stitch, you should be doing an increase. And then once again, we're going to do a slip stitch into the first stitch of this round. At this point, you're going to want to grab your can or whatever container you're creating this for, and double check that the circle just covers the very bottom of the can, just like you can see here. If you're making a bigger cozy, you can add more rows depending on the size. For a mason jar like this, I crocheted 1 extra row by doing 2 half double crochets and then increasing in the third stitch and repeating for the rest of the round. You should have 32 stitches if you do that extra round. We're going to go back to making our regular soda can size. So for this fourth round, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to alternate between single crochets and double crochets. So in this first stitch, we're going to start with a single crochet. So to do a single crochet, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through the 2 loops on our hook. And grab your stitch marker and put it in this first stitch. And now in the second stitch, we're going to do a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops on your hook, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So again, we're going to do another single crochet by inserting our hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. And then again to double crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, then yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then we're just going to keep repeating this pattern until we get to the end of the round. And then here in this last stitch, you'll do a double crochet, and at the end of this row, you should still have 24 stitches. And then we're going to slip stitch into this first single crochet to join the round. And as you can see, I haven't flipped this project to be the right side out. I just think the pattern looks a little bit better with the wrong side facing out, so I'm going to keep crocheting it in this like bowl shape. For this next round, we're actually going to change colors. So I'm going to move this working yarn over to the right inside of the bowl that we have, and we're going to take our new color and we're going to loop it around our hook, and then we're going to pull it through the loop on our hook, just like we were chaining 1 with the other rounds. And then you're just going to want to tug on your working yarn pieces, just so these loops aren't too loose. And now we're going to repeat exactly what we did for the last row. We're going to do a single crochet, followed by a double crochet, and we're gonna repeat that for the rest of this round. And before you get too far, re-add your stitch marker into this first stitch. It does get a little easier to tell which stitch is the first one with the color changes, but just to keep track, you can put it in there if you'd like. And we're not going to be fastening off with each color change. We're actually just going to be carrying the yarn upwards for each round. And here we are again with the last 2 stitches of this row. You'll do a single crochet and then a double crochet. And then once again, we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch of this round. So we're going to switch colors again. So take your working yarn and put it over to the right, and then grab the original color and chain 1. So then again, in this first stitch, we're going to do a single crochet followed by a double crochet. And you should be on your 6th round at this point. And we're going to keep repeating this until you get your desired height. I did about 8 more rounds of this until I got to 14 rows total at the end right here. So you should have about 5 of these secondary colored rows. And to finish this off, we're going to switch colors again, and we're going to do 1 more row of all half double crochets. And then finish this last row by slip stitching into our first stitch. We're now going to fasten off, so I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail so that we can weave in these ends. And then grab your hook and pull this yarn all the way through and then tighten this into a little knot. And then you're going to want to take your other tail and also cut this one off. We're now going to weave in these ends, so grab your tapestry needle. And I'm going to start with this one, and we're going to put this first to the inside of the cozy just so it's a little bit more hidden. So I'm gonna just insert my needle and pull it all the way through, and then flip this cozy inside out so it's easier to work with. And first I'm gonna tie a knot just to secure this a little bit better. So insert your needle under 1 loop and pull it, but not all the way through. And then you're gonna reinsert your needle twice through the loop that you just made. And then I'm going to weave this tail in by just going under a few loops and pulling my needle through. And then you can cut this excess tail off with your scissors. I'm going to do the same thing with this bottom tail right here. So again, just insert your needle under 1 loop and pull it through, but not all the way. And then loop your needle through twice, and then pull it tight. And then do the same thing and just weave your yarn through a few of these loops back and forth until it's secure. And then for these tails up here, I just tied a knot just to make sure these are extra secure, and then weave them both in as well. And then once you've weaved in your ends, you can flip your cozy back right side out. And with that, we are all finished. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please leave a like, comment, and consider subscribing if you did. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.